back, everybody, to From A2J podcast, episode number 2. Back at it again with your hosts, Aaron, Justin, and Jaden, with our special guest today, Mr. Tristan. How you doing, Tristan?
Good, good. Thank
Thanks
you
for
guys
joining us.
so much for having me today. I really do appreciate it.
Our
Thanks for coming
pleasure.
on. Anyways, boys, today we're going to be talking about a few interesting topics in the sports world. Today's going to be mostly focused on basketball topics. To start off, the effects of the Raps playing in Tampa. Thoughts, boys?
Why don't we let our guest speaker start us off? Tristan, feel free.
Yeah. So definitely been a tough Raptors team to watch so far. Um, yeah, I've been trying to keep up with all the games, but you can definitely tell that they're like not in it as they were like last year or the year before. When everything was like meshing together, just seems like something's off, and I think that plays a big part in that.
Yeah, so what I was thinking is that Raptors have, before we won the championship, and especially the championship season, we weren't really a big winning culture. We were obviously a newer team, and we didn't have a lot of people to kind of show us how to win. As you say, a lot of people have been saying that recently, especially with Tom Brady's win. But I found that we had good fans, and the players really connect with our fans. Going back to DeRozan, Vince Carter, like our fans, because I feel like we're up north and we're kind of isolated. We really get into our players and really kind of push them, and we're like that sixth man on the floor. And I think this season really shows that Kyle Lowry's been missing out. Like all of our players who normally get buoyed off of our anticipation and our excitement are just missing all that whole thing without the fans first off, and not being in Toronto secondly. Like that makes a big impact, and it's really hard to play through all that.
Mm,
Yeah, not to
yeah.
mention like all these players have like family and kids and stuff, and basically they've had to move all the way from Toronto all the way down to Tampa Bay and on short notice, and sort of throws a wrench in your entire life situation, right? So there's definitely that to take into account
It's like
when looking at
you're
Toronto season.
entirely like away from home. Everything like regular to your routine, car, even like small stuff like that. But like back to what Aaron was saying, that atmosphere on like a Raptors game day. I know me, Tristan, and Aaron have gone a few times to like a lot of decently big games, and you can just tell that atmosphere in there is so just overwhelming. Basically,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think there
Especially
was
for
something that said we weren't the loudest, but we were up there as one of the louder like arenas in the NBA. So I think that's definitely like taking a toll on the player. But I think like little things as well, like having their like daily lives entirely just flipped upside down, is screwing them
yeah.
over as well.
Yeah, definitely. Especially even for like the young guys too, just because like I know that like Toronto culture in terms of like the fans and everything, like they really pushes the young guys to be better. Like I remember a couple years ago, when we had Caboclo, and like he wasn't very good, but just like having that like young presence there, like every time we saw him sitting on the bench and you were at the game, like everybody was yelling like Bruno, Bruno, wanting to see him play. So I think it's a little bit tougher for the young guys who don't get that same like excitement. And obviously it's like difficult for everybody around the league because nobody really has fans. But like it still with the limited fans that there are, like when they're your home fans like cheering you on, like paying money to see you, like it definitely makes a big difference for a lot of the younger guys out there.
yeah. On that
You know
same
what?
vein, this might be a bad
Go ahead.
example, but you guys remember 2 years ago we had Jeremy Lin. Oh
Yes,
man,
sir.
guy barely got to touch court, and but every time he came on, everyone like lost it and loved him off and
Yeah,
was so excited he was
yeah,
coming, even though he's kind of ended up being a flop. But
yeah.
I mean,
It's
it
so
goes
pretty
funny
back
to
joke.
me.
to. I mean, it goes back to like when we used to play soccer too. Like, imagine when we played a certain team back home, and then we travel an hour to go play them there. Totally different atmosphere, and like they're doing this every day. There's no ever home game. Everything is on the road, and that hurts not just the mind and soul, but like when you're playing and you have no excitement, you have a good run and nothing supporting you. Like you get you get sad on the court. I feel.
Facts. I was just gonna say like they're effectively playing exclusively away games this season,
Yeah,
right?
I
yeah,
There,
think
that's what it is, and we all know that home versus away is a massive difference. So
I
yeah.
think one big thing as well. What we're not taking into like factor before, teams would have to cross borders, cross customs and everything, have to go through all that delay on like either a game day or the night before a game day, like just causing them to tire out. Now everybody's on the same playing field. You get on a plane, you get off, and you're playing. Another thing is I think other arenas are allowing fans in, like within friends and family, but I don't think
Atlanta, I believe.
Atlanta. I know New Orleans is doing it. I think maybe LA. I saw some guys. I saw some people in the LA in the Staples Center.
Courtside Karen.
Not, I don't think she was at Staples Center. I think she was in Atlanta. But I think in Staples they do it where like they're in the upper bowl, not in the, like not too close to the players, like they were in Atlanta. But I think like them not being able to even have their family there or anything. I think they're one of the teams that won't have any family members there, won't have anybody there, and in their arena.
Yeah.
And who in Tampa wants to see the Raptors play? Realistically, I don't think they really care.
There might be some Florida snowbirds or something that are like super watching the Raptors.
Yeah.
I promise you, if there's
Probably
any
not.
diehard Raptors fans in Tampa, that is
Yeah.
like.
I'm sure the extent of like basketball like fandom in Florida like is directed towards Miami Heat. I don't think there's
Miami,
much,
bro.
yeah, especially after like Orlando, like I don't think there's any sort of space left over for a third team, you know what I mean?
And they just won the Super Bowl, bro. Do you think they really care about basketball right now? They're still high off of that win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But like I always see like people always like all the analysts are saying how they're one of the biggest letdowns, but they just don't take into consideration all these facts. But it's like
Yeah.
it's not fair. But on that vein, what do you think is some of your biggest letdowns so far of the NBA season this year? One of mine is not really a letdown, but I was kind of disappointed how Markelle Fultz's season ended because he was doing really well to start the season, and he was kind of like it seemed like he was turning his career around. This would have been a good starting season for that, and then he goes down with an injury and it just kind of derails everything he's working on. Now you don't know how he's going to be when he comes back, and it's just like that was disappointing for me. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was definitely like a really big loss to Orlando. But the only not Orlando. Oh yeah, Orlando. But the only
Yeah,
thing
he's
is
on
that
Orlando.
yeah, the good thing that came out of it though is that like Cole Anthony, you know, young guy, like he gets more minutes now. But it sucks that it came at the expense of like somebody who was really like starting to have a breakout season, especially after all the difficulties that he's faced with like injuries and stuff. So I mean, like there's two sides to it, but yeah, excited to see well, hopefully like he recovers, excited to see what he can do whenever he comes back.
Yeah, poor guy's been through a lot in his fairly short career. So
Yeah, I remember watching a take on him a few years back with Markelle Fultz, like where they were saying like mentally he's not all there. I think the move to Orlando got a little bit better with him, but just setback after setback after setback, it has such an effect on somebody.
facts.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for me, like over the whole season, the biggest like letdown in general was just all the COVID stuff. Like,
As
almost
a fan, right?
as a fan, it's been so annoying, and as someone who's on like playing fantasy,
Do you mean like the
basketball,
COVID tracing where like players aren't allowed to play, but then like KD for example was allowed to play, then he gets told, oh no, you're not allowed to play anymore, blah blah blah.
That doesn't make sense.
Do you
I
mean like
wonder
with
what
that?
protocol they have that they realize halfway through a game that somebody shouldn't be playing. That doesn't.
Well, no, he wasn't. He
sit
wasn't
right
supposed
with
to be playing. He wasn't supposed to be playing in the beginning. But then they said, okay, no, he's good.
That's
But then
what I
after,
mean.
I think in the first quarter was it?
It was like
I
midway
forget
through
now.
the first or midway through the second.
It was midway for the first after he already stepped onto the court and played, saying, "Oh, he's out again for COVID tracing."
Yeah, like that.
I think
Just
they tried
doesn't.
to.
That doesn't sit right with
They
me, man.
they did the same thing with LaMelo too. They were about to have him out for COVID tracing, but then they told him he's okay. And then they just brought him back onto the court before starting.
Yeah, it calls into question like how we lost Tristan, but it calls into question like how stringent the protocols really are and like how well understood they are across the league. Because it seems like it's happened a couple of times where it's you're going back and forth, and it's like, well, is there a proper understanding about the protocol and what it actually means? Because it's super weird and just like but in general, just really disappointing as a fan to not be able to watch your players play because of so many different COVID issues. And like, of course, this is for the players' health and stuff. So I'm not at all against that.
There's
Just
nothing to fix
disappointing.
it. It's just disappointing.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
But
I don't really have any suggestions.
You know what's
to fix
actually
it.
really
even like
disappointing? Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
what's up?
I was gonna say.
I was gonna
What's
say like even
really
the player.
motherfucker. Go ahead.
Do you want me to go ahead or do you want to go ahead? It's up to you.
Go ahead.
Choose.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say even like the players are getting like frustrated with it at this point. Did you see like KD tweeting after he was put in then taken back out? I think like honestly, if you're gonna like that type of scenario, I think that can be definitely fixed. If somebody's out, just leave them out for the whole game.
Well, he's frustrated
Why?
because he's told that he's not coming in, and he's getting ready for that. Then they're like, "No, you can come in." Now he gets ready to play. Then they go, "Oh
No,
wait, never mind."
but that's what I'm saying though.
So it's
what
like-
I'm saying though.
It's like
If
that fucks with
if
your
they
head.
are
Mhm.
But what I'm saying is, right?
My
If
apologies,
you're
otherwise.
It's all good, buddy.
no worries, no worries. What I'm saying is like, if you're out, just stay out the entire game. Why are you going? Why are they letting him back in and then calling him back out again? I think
That's what I'm saying.
that was a
Like
mistake.
as an
If you're out,
athlete,
you're out. There's
as
no technically he shouldn't even be in the building because him being in the building, I'm pretty sure puts everybody else into that tracing, right?
100%, 100%. And as an athlete, it's annoying. Like whenever you go down to the Hershey Center and they're like, "Yeah, your game got double booked." That's probably the most infuriating thing. And it's similar vein where he's ready there, he's ready to play, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't play." And it's just like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like your job here is to prepare and make sure all the scheduling and all these COVID tracing, all these things are ready. I'm just here to come and play. Like
Yeah,
Kevin Durant's not in charge of all that stuff, so it's like, come on,
Yeah.
guys. But on that, I know
just like,
Tristan's excited about this one. But what do you guys think about Luka Doncic and the Mavs? Because after last year's playoff, everyone thought that they'd be up there, they'd be like battling for the fourth and fifth seed, something like that. They are currently 10th behind the Grizzlies and the
And the Warriors.
Spurs. Warriors at
Yeah.
least have Steph Curry. Grizzlies
Yeah.
are not the
I
best team, and
I don't know about you guys, but I didn't expect that from the Warriors. I think he's been pulling him like back into that conversation. But Tristan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the season is still early. I mean, Dallas made a lot of they made a lot of trades, and they made a lot of movements during the offseason. Like they offloaded Seth Curry. I don't think they should have done that. But they did. Like for I believe they got Jason Richardson. Is his name Jason? I think his name Jason. Anyways, yeah, but anyways, Richardson, he's good though. Like he's a good defender. Like he's a little bit more high energy than Seth Curry. But Seth Curry kind of helped to shoot Dallas out of games last year, which they're kind of missing now. And then also earlier in the season, they were missing Porzingis, who just came back. So I mean, they're still meshing. They're still like there's still a ways to go until the season's over. I think that they'll end up doing okay. It's just a matter of getting their chemistry back with the new guys that they have out there.
that makes sense. But hey, I also want to point out that you were saying that the Mavs are even behind the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies also only played 22 games. Mavs are on 28 games played.
I did not know that. That is very interesting.
So
Actually, yeah,
we're
they did
looking
miss
at
a few games because of the tracing.
yeah,
They
Memphis.
did miss a few games.
Or Memphis missed I think 5 games in a row, something real stupid. Like they didn't play
I
for
think-
an entire week basically.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they initially had the tracing issue for a few days, and then somebody else, like another team, had the tracing issue when Memphis was finally cleared to come back, and then that just canceled even more games. I think that's what happened.
On that too, the I know it's not like you can't really do anything about it, but the way the season schedule with most teams have back to backs with the same team, if you delay one of those games, basically those 2 games are already gone. And
Yeah.
then that
I know
really
it's a lot.
really
It's a
fucks it
lot.
up.
It's a lot more back to backs with the same teams.
It's because
Like
it's
a
'cause
lot
they're
more,
trying to
a lot
limit
more
the
this
contact,
season. But
right?
It's by design,
Yeah.
yeah.
anyways,
That kind of brings me back to just like one of the biggest disappointments though, just because I know that like Washington, they were affected by that. But I think Washington was like a really big disappointment. Not in the sense
I
that
was
like
gonna
I
say that
expected
too.
them to like not in the sense that I expected them to do like amazing, but I expected them to contend a little bit harder than they are right now.
Dude.
Obviously with the addition of like Westbrook, and then they're supposed to get a really good rookie, Denny Avdia, but he hasn't really been playing that well either. Even though like I know Bradley Beal was saying like such good things about him like in the preseason. So, we'll still see, but that's probably been one of my biggest disappointments so far in terms of
Yeah.
watching.
For Washington, the thing is, right? You okay, yeah, they're not the best basketball team, and that's fair, but I don't think any team with 2 all-star caliber players should be at the bottom of their division or conference. Like
Absolutely
that,
not.
I was gonna say
that's you can't have that.
I was gonna say that Washington is my biggest disappointment this season, man. Bradley Beal needs help.
Help
And
me.
nobody else. Nobody's helping him, man. Like, what is he?
Here's the thing, though. We
he's
can say
dropped-
that. We can say that about him, but he has Russell Westbrook, right?
That's what I'm saying. Why is it Westbrook hasn't stepped up, bro? Bradley Beal has been having to drop 40 how many times this season? I don't know. He's dropped 40 quite a few times this season.
Sounds like
Dude.
he scored a lot of points.
Dude, he needs help, man. And then I was gonna say my biggest surprise this season, Utah. Utah is playing really, really well this season.
Yeah, they're playing some good basketball.
Like, especially last season with the whole Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. People were saying like they fell out or whatever because of the whole COVID
No, they
situation
did. They
between.
did fall out. They just made it work afterwards.
Okay, they did fall out, whatever. Because I guess Gobert gave it to Donovan Mitchell, but I guess they came back together. They got back on the same page, and they are playing really, really well this season, man.
Wasn't Gobert like the cause of like at least 6 or 7 NBA players getting it?
Dude,
Yeah, I think
Dude,
he started.
there's a video
he
of
started.
there's a
He
video of
definitely
Rudy
started an
Gobert
outbreak.
before he tested positive. He made it like a joke. He like touched
Yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah.
like media like gear and everything, and then like the next day he came out that he tested positive.
That's probably
What
the
so
a
biggest
funny,
L
yeah.
ever. That's probably
What
the
a
biggest L.
clown.
Yeah, the media was saying that like Gobert and like Donovan Mitchell's like relationship was like like unfixable.
Yeah,
Terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winning
But yo,
fixes all problems.
guys, back to Washington though. Like, what do you think is the issue there? Because it's not like they don't have talent. Like, I know they rely a little too much on Rui and things like that. But I mean, they have like Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. Like, that's a disgusting backcourt. Like, how can they not be doing better than they are?
Yeah, so I think that like the thing that it comes down to with a lot of teams and probably like it might not even be the coach's fault. Like it might be like upper management, but at some point teams need to realize that like you also need to play defense to win games. You know, like a lot of teams try to be
Brooklyn.
like, yeah, let's get as many players who we can that
Brooklyn.
can score, and then then we'll be okay. But then like you realize that like with teams like Brooklyn only wins if they outscore the other team. Like that's the only way you win. But like that means they have to score 140 points, but they like concede like 125, 130
They're at the
points.
point where they have to outscore their opponents in order to win a game.
That's not
Yeah.
sustainable. It's just not sustainable. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what,
Guys,
we didn't discuss this before, but I have a hot take. Just looking at Washington's roster,
Is,
and it came to my mind. Do you think what Russell Westbrook's a poison?
is that a hot take, Jaden? I feel like people have been talking about that for like 6 years now.
I know, but it's a hot take. But for the From A2J podcast,
To be fair, I don't think he's the poison. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is what Tristan was saying. It's just there's no defense, so they could score points, but it's like if you can't consistently get stops at the other end, especially in close games, at some point you're gonna get a 7-point, 8-point deficit, and you can't claw back because there's no more time left.
Yeah.
but I mean, towards the end at OKC,
Well,
obviously
everyone who's ever
OKC
played with him says he's a great teammate.
Okay, OKC wasn't really the best like playoff team. Like you'd have like the most expectation. Remember that season when they traded for Paul George, and then I think they traded for Melo or did they sign Melo?
I think they picked him up because everyone thought he was washed. And then they picked him
Bro,
up.
remember all the expectations for that team because everybody was trying to make their big three.
Yeah, but I don't
And
think
then
those are real
everything went.
expectations.
yeah, but you can think back to like even further back when OKC had a really stacked roster, right? And they still kind of disappointed. But I don't. Again, like if you go back to the original question, is Russell Westbrook a poison? I don't think so. Like,
yeah, I personally don't think so. I think even before he left OKC and even before he left like Houston, like I think that the teams that he was on, like they always consistently made playoffs. Like it just sucked the position that they were in because if you look at the West in like 2016, like
Yeah,
it's not your fault that like Steph Curry, like
became the
Klay
best
Thompson,
shooter
KD
ever.
are all on the same
Decided to
team,
go
you
off for
know?
4 games straight.
Yeah, so like that's not your fault. That's not anything that you can help. I think just now he's probably at the point in his career where like maybe he knows he's not gonna win a championship. Like I mean, I don't want to wish that upon him. Like I know he's put in a lot of work to get to his point now in his career, but I mean, I think he's like coming to the realization that like he could just like never win a ring. So it's kind of like now he's just like he's playing to play. Obviously, he's like playing his heart out each game, but I think the result is less important than the stats, I guess.
I know what you mean. He's also doing a lot of load management nowadays,
Yeah,
which is
Yeah.
different for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I haven't seen him play as much as Russell Westbrook.
He doesn't play any
Traditionally
back
plays.
to back. He doesn't play both back to backs ever anymore.
Yeah, that's his new arrangement with Washington.
Like older ones of his caliber, but it definitely shows a change, like what Tristan was saying. Like there's definitely a difference in the way he's playing and the way he goes about it and whatnot. But again, like it's not his fault. I don't think it's his fault. I think he's a great player. I think if you were to switch him out for a point guard in any of like the last few championship winning teams, I don't think he's gonna make them lose.
I agree.
Yeah.
And like going back to when OKC were in the finals with the Heat, he's not the one who fucked them over. Going back to when they went against Golden State, and were up 3-1. they relied on Kevin Durant, their best player, to make big shots, and he just didn't. Like I think Westbrook is a good number 2 on a championship winning team. He can't be the number 1, and when he's had that number 1, never performed for him, and can't put that on him.
And
Like,
another thing is,
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, because Russell Westbrook is not just I need the ball in my hands at all times and I need to be scoring to help win a game. Like he's great at dishing out assists. Like he could be a decent player. He gets boards like no other
triple
PG
double
does,
king,
right?
yeah.
Triple double king. He's an amazing playmaker as well. So I think given the right pieces with him, he could do good things. I just don't think he's had opportunity. I don't think he's had really had opportunities with good pieces to win a championship.
I think people overhype it because he's so good at getting his stats and his numbers, where they expect him to be more than he is, and then that ends up making him look bad. When if you just value him at where he's at, I think everyone would have more reasonable expectations with him. But
it's similar to like a Harden in the Rockets situation almost.
I agree.
With Russell and OKC. So
yeah, that's a good point.
But going on that, I think one of the biggest surprises, and me and Justin talk about this all the time. This guy, Jeremy Grant, dropping 25 points a game in Detroit.
Yeah, he's balling out.
We could say surprised, but we called this.
To be fair, we did call this. But like
in fantasy, we were all fighting for that guy because we knew he was going to be sick. But this is way more than I ever thought he could be doing.
Like Detroit fucked up by letting him go. Denver. If Denver kept him, that team's going to the Western Conference Finals again, easily.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what? Hot take here. They're 7th right now in the West. With Jeremy Grant, they're probably top 5. They're probably top 5 with Jeremy Grant.
Oh, no,
just that one.
I wouldn't even say it's I would say 100%. That's not even a hot take.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it offload some of the scoring from the other guys, like like right now with Denver, like Jokic has to score a lot. Jamal Murray has to score a lot.
And Jamal Murray is like hit or miss. He gets hot stretches, but he's not consistent scorer. Where when you get Jeremy Grant off the bench, you drop 15 points. You're like, all right, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah, we're in good hands.
Yeah, but we also have to consider though also that Jeremy Grant is playing on the Pistons, so he wouldn't have on any team that's in a higher position than them. So
I think they just announced. I don't know if they just announced it today, but Blake Griffin's not playing for them again.
Not again,
to figure out his
situation.
Yeah, I think they both talked, or whatever I read earlier today said they both talked about it, and then they're both willing to move on, even though Blake Griffin was getting the bag.
They want to figure out his contract situation and whether or not
he's still in that Clippers max deal with I think 170 million.
Yeah. Side note, I saw something. I don't even know if this is true, but I'm just always reading through basketball and NBA Twitter. But apparently, apparently Blake Griffin hasn't dunked the basketball since 2019.
Yes. No, that's in an NBA game.
An NBA
game. Yes, that is true.
Blake Griffin?
You're telling me the guy who used to get known for his dunking has not dunked a basketball since
that's how it is.
Has not dunked a basketball since 2019.
But he's smart.
Yeah, his dunks were scary.
He pivoted.
That's how you prolong your career.
Yeah,
that's how you do it. Because he knows a dunk here or there and losing 3 years off the end of your career. What's more important, right? He's done the dunks. Everyone knows he can dunk if he wants to.
Yeah. No, he's a smart guy. I would say my. I was just gonna say just based on back to the topic of just my biggest surprises. I would say I have 2. So definitely my first surprise is Chris Boucher. I knew he was gonna be good for the Raptors, but I mean he exceeded my expectations, especially since they got a number 1 and a number 2 center, and he outperformed all of them to the point where they had to waive Alex Len. That's not something that I expected to happen at all. My number 2 surprise, and you guys probably already see this coming, is LaMelo Ball. I mean, that kid is really good. We've been watching him back in Chino Hills.
Literally since he was a little youth, man.
How long have we watched the Ball brothers in general for? Since before Lonzo came into the
when Lonzo was not even UCLA, bro.
Lonzo became when he was at UCLA, bro. But it's crazy to see remember when everybody was saying it's not going to translate, blah blah blah. He can't make shots, this and that.
Yeah. Dude, well, that's the thing. I knew he was good, but I thought he kind of had the same problem with Lonzo, where their jump shot was just real, their jump shots are weird. Like that's just as far as
ugly.
it goes. It's just unconventional. So like
I think they're
like
just
with
taught
Lonzo,
unconventional.
yeah. But the thing with Lonzo is that like in Lonzo, if you watch his like college clips and everything, like he used to always hit like the step back, like when he jumps to kind of his left side and
Yeah,
then he like brings the ball across his body.
like the signature step back.
Yeah, but then when he got to the NBA, like he couldn't do that anymore because all they had to do was guard him to do that step back, and then he couldn't shoot. So like now he's had to kind of develop like his shot more. But with Lamelo,
He's
like
shooting on the right side now.
yeah, Lonzo is he picks up his shot, but Lamelo like his shot is still very unorthodox. Like he doesn't jump, like he looks like he's scared to jump on his jump shot. It makes no sense.
His
But
shot's
I
so
mean, it
ugly. Oh
goes
my
in
god.
and like yeah, but his basketball IQ is just crazy.
Different.
But
Different.
that's just because he's been playing with older people like his entire life. Like his brothers are like 2-3 years older than him.
That
He was
helps a
playing on like
lot.
he was playing on U19 teams when he was like 15 years old. Like
Yeah, like
so it really
when he
helped
said
him.
I'm so good at rebounding because I play 21 a lot. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah,
not to
no,
Do you
mention,
remember when we spoke about it a while back? I know me, Tristan, and Aaron did. Do you remember? I think the reason why Lamelo has been so successful when you compare it to Alonzo, because obviously that's the easy comparison between the two. I think he's done so much better because of that year in Australia versus
yeah,
the
I agree.
NCAA, and it doesn't prove that tactic, but it gives a lot of support to that tactic and like having a lot more players choose that option over college. And now the G
Yeah,
League's doing something where like they can play in the G League and whatever, but I think he was just so much more adjusted to playing with older people. And
yeah,
he was
exactly.
on a
Like,
bad team in Australia as well, so he
yeah,
really had to do a lot to even try to. I don't think they didn't get many wins, but even try to do
yeah,
well, he had to do a lot, and I think that really helped him grow. Not only as like a player, as a person as well. To be
yeah.
honest,
Well, and the thing with the NBL, like the league that he went to in Australia, is that like there are some of those guys that like were ex NBA players. So like you get to learn
yeah.
from those guys. You get to play with grown men. I think that like the reason why it surprised me so much though was just because like with LaMelo Ball, like like people are like, oh, overrated, to like the point where you actually start to believe it, and you're like, this guy's not very good. Like he's just like overhyped because like his family is just famous, and then like I kind of started believing that as well, and then like, but
But
then
look
like
at
seeing
him
how
now,
he
man.
plays, like he's the
that
real
was
deal.
He's winning the Rookie of the Year award.
Oh,
He is winning the
And
Rookie of the
and
Year award.
on that, I think a lot of it, not just going to NBL, Jaden, I think compared to Lonzo at least, and you see in the videos themselves, he's way more confident, and he just like he shoots and he just it's going in. He does even if it misses in his mind, that's going in, and like
you're right about the
that makes a
confidence. You
yeah,
know
big
what?
difference moving to the league.
He honestly just like watching them like back in the day, like when they were in Chino Hills, whatever, Lonzo's first year and stuff like that. You could always tell Lamelo was always the most confident one out of the three of them.
Confident, outgoing, like he was always putting
Yeah.
stuff out there. But going
So I
back to
think that
what
really
yeah,
translates on the court.
yeah, but going back to what you were saying, Tristan, I just looked it up. Chris Boucher is hitting over 50% from the field and 43% from three.
The
yeah.
guy's
He's
the
That's
best three shooter on the team.
Yeah,
yeah,
He's
bro.
the
Like
best
he
From
three
a
doesn't shoot
shooter.
a
center,
lot, but he's
43%
hitting
from the
he's hitting
three
a good
is.
amount of the threes. That's sick.
yeah. And he also
Can
has
you
the
see
most
what his
like
3 points attempted is per game?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not a lot. He only attempts three a game, 3.5, but
But three is decent for a
about
center,
four
though.
threes
Three
a
is
game.
decent for
But
a
for
center.
a center hitting 43% of those, that's almost
yeah,
half his shots. Like that's from a center, that's not bad.
yeah.
And then on what's it called? Let me see. Let's see what LaMelo's doing this year.
Do you guys remember when LeVar Ball went on Shannon Sharp's show, Undisputed, and said LiAngelo was the best one out of the three of them, trying to create hype for him?
That's why like a lot of people are super haters, and like I'm not a really big fan of the Ball brothers either. But like credit where credit's due. This guy balled the hell out this year. He's going
Yeah,
off right now, and you know what?
yeah,
Good for him, bro. Because you're right.
Dude,
So many
somebody
haters. So many people saying like
somebody
he's not as
sign
good as
LiAngelo,
Grizzlies.
bro. That kid's failed on every level so far, man. It's just somebody sign him.
Didn't someone
Do you
pick him
know
up and then drop him this year?
They
yeah.
literally
Detroit
And he
picked him up
decided
and then
I
to,
swear they
dropped
just
him?
got him for some news hype around their team. Like there's no other reason they would have picked him up and
yeah,
dropped him in less than 10 days.
Dude, he
yeah.
went
Detroit,
undrafted. He went
He did
undrafted in the G League draft.
he
I
didn't
was
even go
looking
through the
at who got
COVID
drafted.
protocols yet, bro, and he got dropped.
yeah. That was sad, bro. I saw his Instagram.
Jokes.
Those Pistons. Yeah, I saw his Instagram the day that they signed him on like the non-guaranteed deal, and like he posted like just like a picture of him, like he was gonna do some charity event for like kids in Detroit, and then literally the next day they dropped him and he took the post down. I felt so bad.
That's rough. That's rough.
Dude, did you know that they I think not the day they picked him up, but they had him on the bench for 2 games, and these clowns were trying to get the most like PR from from just having Gel on the team, that they were posting them on the team's Instagram saying like game fits or something like that with Gel just walking in.
Yeah, I didn't play him once. I don't even know if he like dressed in practice for them, but
Bro,
I think that
this guy
sums
didn't
up.
get off the.
Thank you for joining us today. This is our basketball segment of the podcast. We'll be venturing out to different sports. Probably not hockey because it's hockey, but basketball, soccer, football, and entertainment in general. We're not going to stick to sports only, but we'll stick to what we know best. So thank you for joining us from A to J and J to A. That was brought back by popular demand. I know some of you might not like it, but that's mine. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Tristan, for joining us on our second podcast. See you
thanks
next
for
time,
having me.
guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. You know how to do it.
Peace.
Easy.